Just a few months ago, we were living off-grid in the Puerto Rican jungle. Before that, we were living on a sailboat. Now, we're technically homeless and trying to figure out what's next. So we've landed in Florida, and today's the start of our next adventure, house hunting. We're super excited. We are looking for our first house. If you guys have ever watched our channel before, you know me and Matt don't agree on anything. We disagree on everything. I say it's red, he says it's blue. I say I want this, he says he wants that.
And it just doesn't matter how many times I've been right. We just can never accept that I'm always right.
It's not what's happening. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about what we're looking for. I'm looking for an old house. I don't want something, which happens a lot in Florida. If you've been in Florida or live in Florida, you probably know a lot of houses are getting flipped left and right, and they put on some whatever they decide to put in the house. I don't want one of those. I want a classic old house that's ready for some renovation.
I don't want to get plopped in a 3.2 DR Horton special. I need to be on an adventure in my house. I need to not, when I'm touring these homes, I want to be like, ooh, what's that? I'm curious.
I really want a fireplace. I know that sounds silly in Florida, but I just have this thing for fireplaces. And I also want a house that maybe has a pool. I think it'd be really cool if I was drinking margs in the pool. I like to float on a float. If you've seen the channel, you know I like to float behind the boat in a float. So in a pool would be really nice. It's not a need though. So what are you looking for?
Privacy, land, interesting architecture, and I like nature, so anything a little more natural, or at least in close proximity to nature, close to a boat ramp, close to the beach, close to a river. All those things would work for me. Obviously, I'm not going to be in the wilds of my land, and I'm not just going to be out toward the abyss of the ocean, but those are things that I prioritize and that I would love. I don't want to be too much of a suburban dad where I'm just like in a wall-to-wall houses neighborhoods for 20 miles in every direction. It's kind of tight in here already just talking about it. I don't want the home improvement thing where the dude puts his eyes over my face.
Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson. I don't want a Wilson that's like, hey Matt, how you doing today? And I'm like, oh hey Wilson, I'm doing just fine. Not that I'm antisocial, but I like to go out and be social and then be at my house. So I don't want those two overlapping.
All right, let's get into the houses. So the first one I was really excited about. It had a double-sided fireplace. I've never seen one of these, and when I saw it, I was like, sign me up. It had a nice workshop area in the garage for Matt. But as we started walking around, we started realizing it's pretty small in different rooms, like the laundry room were fit really weird. It did have a pool, so I was really excited about that.
Yeah, and also at this point, at this stage of the game, I am liking this house because it has a wide open backyard that goes up to a canal. So it's not like a nice river or anything. It's like a kind of an industrial canal, but you have a huge distance space between your backyard and then any neighbors that would ever be behind you. There would never be any. So I liked that.
So this was the primary bathroom area. It had a great skylight. I also love skylights. I have a weakness for those. But it was an endless weird pathway where the vanity, a walk-in closet, then a door open to go down this path to a shower, a small bathroom. It was really small. They did kind of renovate the bathroom recently, and then that went into the weird laundry room and then into the garage. It was like a never-ending pathway of things, so that was weird. Everything else was pretty normal. The bedrooms were normal.
Yeah, it was a fun house. At this particular moment in time, I was kind of a grumpy Gus because the prices...
What's new?
Yeah, I know. The prices of homes have gone up astronomically from when we were living in America. So it's like very shocking when they say, this is how much this house would be. Because I'm like, this house should be like $100,000 maybe is how I'm feeling about it. And they're like, oh yeah, it's not that though, boy. You're going to have to give up a kidney to get this house. But I really ended up kind of liking this house. I'm not that hard to please. So I walked away from this house and said, yeah, let's just put it in an offer. But I had this dream that I could just undercut offers by like $150,000. and just say what it was worth to me, and I was getting laughed out of these negotiations, if you can call them negotiations. And the realtor that we went with at that time was we were battling. What were we doing? We were having a wee measuring contest, you said.
Yeah.
And because I was like, I had this guy wanted like 270 for this one property that had like 3 acres, but it was a like full abandoned house. And I offered him $80,000, and he laughed, and then he made sure to rub my nose in it on this tour and say, "Yeah, I got 245 for it though." And I was like, "I got 245 for it." So yeah, I'm just at this point, I'm just kind of in shock of the house prices and thinking, "Oh Lord, what am I doing? What am I doing?" So I was struggling at that one, but I still did like the house a lot.
The next one is a really different looking house. Right off rip, we saw that they had new septic tanks. I think that's what was in the yard. So we were inspecting those, and we also did hear that it had termites, and as you can see, part of it was falling apart, and Matt put his finger in it, and I don't think that was allowed.
Yeah, I don't know if that's allowed or not either, but
It's
I
not.
did stick my finger in it. I was just seeing how much of the wood was rotten, and you know, sometimes to know the true worth of something, you got to get knuckle deep in it real quick. But I wasn't worried about it because most of the wood in this house was like a facade, and it was a block house with some wood stuff around it. So I wasn't too worried about that. When it comes to plywood, it's not that hard to deal with, so I wasn't concerned.
The showstopper was the fireplace in this house.
Oh, yeah.
I think this was a custom built house. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that. And then, of course, Matt was trying to climb the fireplace, and I yelled at him
Listen,
to get down.
we got some rock climbers in the family. We got all the little grandkids coming up and all the nieces and nephews. They're all rock climbers, and I said, I can't wait to see my childrens climbing this rock tower.
There was a weird animal homemade door that was made, which was weird. A lot of it seemed DIY'd and put together, but still it had an old house smell, which really gets me. And I could see the potential of projects here. It felt like the windows, I felt the nature, and the pool. The pool was big and nice. I was so hyped when I saw that pool. It was like a surprise in the backyard.
Surprise! Also, this property had some land as well. This was on a 1 acre lot with a lot of big oak trees, so it felt very secluded. You could not lay eyes on any neighbor. It was kind of long, and the other neighbor's lot that it went up to, the houses were built on the outside of those lots, so it felt very, very private in here. I liked it. It was cool. The layout on this one, though, was not good. It wasn't right. It was listed as a 3-2, and it was not a 3-2. It basically had like a big closet that they were saying was another room, and then I said,
But the big closet had a closet too, which was weird.
and it had no doors. So I was like, you have to go through the master door to get to that. So I'm at the master suite. I'm going to have to leave the door open all the time to access that room. And my realtor was like, yeah, they passed a new law where like doors aren't really a thing anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So they can just call it a 6-bedroom because every bedroom has a closet. And so I didn't really understand that. And then once again, in my brain, I got convoluted and said, oh, okay, they're asking this much, but it's really a 2-2. It's not a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's a 2-bedroom. So I'll way undercut. Maybe, you know.
Maybe we can get the deal there.
Maybe I can get the deal. Ignore that. You ain't never getting a deal, my boy.
Really enjoyed the large windows. They were almost like floor to ceiling type of windows, so that was really nice. I could see a lot of the projects. The laundry room was in the garage, which wasn't my favorite, and we decided to check out the rest of the property, where you can see a giant workshop in the back. This seemed almost too perfect. You could put a boat back there. It had electricity. You could make it a mother-in-law suite. We got super excited.
Yeah, I could see myself building a shanty boat in there. The lot, even though it was big, it was kind of flooded on the backside, but I was like, I'll just go down to Home Depot and rent a tractor and I'll dig a pond out. I will put a pond back here next to my shed. But it was a huge shed back there, and it was super cool. That was one of the big bonuses, but that was the thing. With that property, now it becomes very unusual to price it, because it was what, 80, 79? Early 80s, late 70s. So the house needed work. It's smaller than all the other houses on the block, but it has a giant, like enormous workshop and land and a sick pool. So I'm just sitting here like, how do you price it? What do you come in for? So I'm completely lost once again.
All right, the next house was Matt's pick. Why did you pick this one? I think it's going to be pretty obvious in these clips, as you can see.
If you don't know, then you don't know me. You don't know Uncle Matty. This was a house that I saw that had a waterfront property, open ocean access. Technically, it still would be like an hour run, even on a fast boat, to get to the ocean from there. So it's very much on a technicality, open water. But it's I love water. I'm an Aquarius. Shout out Glenn Davis. But with us Aquariuses need water around. They say you're 30% less stressed if water's near you or something like that.
Yeah, so this was on the higher end of budget. It was probably over budget, to be honest, but it did have a pool, and obviously you can't beat those views. It's super nice, but I don't like the house. It's small,
yeah,
and it is old. There could be renovations happening, but it wasn't like a nice big bathroom with a primary. There wasn't like a nice big.
The house is tired, and it's a very humble house with little to no room for creativity. Really, you'd have to get very creative, but the scenery around it is amazing. If I were to get my shanty boat, I could get my shanty boat and just work on it in the backyard. That way, if you ever try to divorce me, I just say, I'm taking the boat. And I just dig.
Plus, one weird thing about that house was it was a 3-3, and there's a small bathroom in the garage, and the laundry was in the garage too, which is not my favorite. But
for some reason, having a bathroom in the garage has just set Kristen off. She's
it's just like, strange.
Her tism showed up on that. She's like, bathroom in the garage. That's not where the bathroom goes.
I just don't get it.
That's not where a bathroom goes.
Matt explained that if he got like all dirty, he could, it could be a dirty shower.
Yeah, dirty.
Next house was another weird waterfront one that was, of course, your choice.
Yeah.
And I hated this one. I did not want to go see it. I thought it was ugly.
Even the realtor was mad at me for having to go see this one. But you know what, boys? I stuck 10 toes down on it and I got my way. I said, we got to go look at it. It's riverfront. But it was... soon after we had to sign like a release to even go in this house because like the floor was falling down, the stuff was falling off. Beautiful house, really interesting and cool.
Not beautiful house.
I mean, okay, sorry, interesting and cool, but very awkward layout, very unusual.
Things are falling apart. The foundation, the house was swooping in spots.
It was like 7 feet tall on one side and like 7'6" on the other side of a room. It was really weird.
It was all messed up.
Yeah, and then you were like a neighbor's property like went into your backyard. It was really unusual. So
it was technically a waterfront, but really you had to walk down a really long strip of land that you only get a sliver between two big properties, and then you get to your little dock, which unfortunately my camera settings were off, so it's kind of bright, but you can see that it was like a water and dock.
Yeah, and then the bathroom sink was just randomly in the bathroom. This house was definitely going to get blown over in a hurricane, so it was going to get pretty buck wild. It had a bidet though, so that would have been fun and cool. But yeah, clearly it was pretty evident that this was not going to be the one 5 seconds after walking in. It was pretty cool, but it was not cool enough, and it was in what I lovingly refer to as the hood. It was a little more ghetto over on this side of the world.
Waterfront ghetto doesn't make sense to me, but
well, it's close to like a major like not the highway, but a main road. It's right over there by that big road.
Oh, really cool double deck.
Cool double deck, and then interesting water, good fishing over there. So could have been cool, but it was not for us.
The next one was one of mine. Really exciting house because I fell in love with that double-sided fireplace at that first one. So I saw another one on the listings, and I said, I gotta go see it. And as I was walking around this house, it obviously an older couple took care of this house, and they took care of it so well. I wanted to keep the carpet. It was cool. The whole house was just almost exactly like the first one, but bigger.
Yeah.
Like the weird walking through the bathroom to the closet through the laundry room was still the same, but it was all bigger. So it was better.
it's like your problems are all there in front of you, but your problems are bigger. So this house was actually really well maintained. You could tell the people really loved it and they took great care of it. Beautifully maintained, beautiful house. Just in particular for me, I love the house as well. If I could, and I still, to this day, after looking at multiple properties, if I could put this dwelling on different properties, I maybe would do that. I really did like the house as well, and you could tell the people cared for it. And but the neighborhood for me was a massive thumbs down. It was
also a double lot, and that's why I got it from Matt. I picked it out. I thought he could like the double lot.
But the lot wasn't lush. It was just two pine trees. And so it was just more grass for me to cut. So we kind of explained that. I was like, some acreage would be good, but I don't want an acre of just lawn to have to go out there and mow. That doesn't serve for me. If it's got a bunch of trees and it feels tropical, then I can ride out. I know I'm not sounding too manly, and I'm sounding like I have a million must-haves.
He's very high maintenance, and don't let him tell you otherwise. When he goes to people, he says, it's up to her if she likes it. That's wrong. I can live in almost any of these houses.
No,
except that wood one.
No, it's up to you. It's up to you to agree with me about which house is the best, is what I tell them. You got to read between the lines with these marketing negotiations of real estate. But yeah, this house was cool, but way too tight to the neighbors. The neighbor across the way was kind of built up on a hill, so he could just look right in your house no matter what you were doing. And you know what? He's going to be looking at my house, and, I walk around in the NID, so I don't want people looking at my Franks and Beans.
All right. This house was one of mine also. An old house, taken care of well, in a really good neighborhood. So I was super excited to see that. The lots are normally bigger at this one, not at like an acre or anything, but just a bigger regular lot.
Like half-acre lots. They're big lots. They're nice.
Yeah. And this house had very interesting things, and it did feel like I could make a lot of good improvements. It wasn't flipped. It had a drop-in, like, sunken living room in one spot. The bedrooms were a good size. And how did you feel about this one?
No, this house was cool. This house was definitely a story was being told when we were touring it. You were on an adventure. Every corner you turned, you were like, this doesn't even make sense. What's going on here? I'm up the stairs. I'm down on the floor. I'm going into sunken living room. This is crazy. And it was really cool. And it had a really nice yard with a bunch of mature fruit trees and then like a electrical easement out the back, so there was never going to be neighbors behind you as well. So it had a lot of privacy, and these are all double lot properties. So every property in this neighborhood's a double lot. So you have like your house, and then there's an entire room for another house between your house and where the next property starts. It's not like the houses that are 20 feet apart. So I did like that.
It did have a big fireplace, which is cool. And then it had a humongous Florida room, which I'm not a giant fan of Florida rooms because I feel like they cut the natural light out of your main house. Yeah. And this one was like the biggest Florida room I've ever seen. There was like 2 parts to it. So yeah, I don't even know what you do with this. Hot tubs?
We have to have a Florida room though for Bear's retirement though.
Yeah, that you can do a porch.
No, we love Bear, and I want Bear to have a sprawling retirement in her golden years because we kind of try to keep the baby and the cat separate just for like dandruff. The baby will grab the cat and have full hair on the hand and try to eat all the hair. So we try to keep them the only visiting hours. But yeah, the Bear's retirement is our Florida room, and that's just the way it goes. I'm not taking no for an answer.
And who would put a door that you can actually see the garage? Though that was ugly.
Not me. I wouldn't do it.
All right, so we learned a lot after we looked at the houses, and we now know better what we're looking for. Obviously, just give them like the top 4 things that we're grading everything on.
Yeah, we know less of what we want, if that's even possible, because it evolves. This is what's weird about it. I'm not the weird one. You're the weird one. You're the psycho. What did I want, guys? Waterfront and a yard. Pretty standard.
Pretty simple, easy stuff to get.
But they're easy to understand because we've all wanted these things from infancy. You never in your life have been like, I need a pool and I need a double freaking sided fireplace. Yours came out of nowhere. And you add on even the weirder stuff like skylights in a wet bar would be cool. And I'm like, wet bar? What are you trying to throw like an old like 70s party, like an old key party orgy or something?
You don't know anything. That'd be cool.
So yeah, so mine is, gosh, would be cool to get a waterfront property. And she's like, that's so strange, but can we get one with a double-sided fireplace, skylights and a wet bar, that's really kind of what I need. So she's the psycho here. We have 4 pillars of shopping. We want location, because clearly we want to be closer to family. That's the main drain of the whole reason we came here. There's recreation. Obviously, I run wild like a German Shepherd 24/7, and I have had no fences around me for the last 10 years, so it's hard to rein me in. Recreation is a pool, would fall into that. You get to swim, you get to work out. A river nearby, waterfront, falls into recreation. Really cool land. If I get an acre, I can do some farming again, and just something fun that you can have right there at your house. Location, recreation, stress. How hard? Obviously, I had a heat stroke, killing myself in Puerto Rico, and almost died, and was bumbling. Blah, 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 blah.
You didn't almost die.
I got to watch my stress of I can't get a house that's so dilapidated that I'm going to kill myself to get it done.
Rebuilding it.
Yeah, and it's not going to be really livable while I'm rebuilding it, and it's going to just be terrible for all those reasons. So I have to get something because I will be fixing most of the house, but I don't want to be getting into like foundational structures and doing anything crazy. I guess the final pillar was price. Yeah, clearly we, in Florida, real estate's wild, and things can skew all over the place. We rate all of those particular pillars on a scale of 1 to 10, and then we come back with, okay, what do we like here? So yeah, because price comes in with like potential of the property and all that stuff. So it's a complicated system.
We did put in an offer, guys. We put in an offer on one of these houses. I want to know, can you guys guess which one it was in the comments? And what happened, Matt?
Heartbreak.
We did not get it.
Yeah, because
And this is what happened.
I was an idiot.
Say it again.
I was an idiot. I have this weird macho man fantasy that's like I can just come in and wheel and deal. And you can't wheel and deal. The price is the price. For some reason, I remember back to when I was a 20-year-old kid and you could buy a house for $100,000. The price that they put out, maybe $15,000 higher or lower. That's your wiggle room.
We chose the termite house. We said, we want this termite house and we want it now. It was surprisingly the lowest price of houses that we looked at out of all those ones that we just showed you. And we said, let's put in our offer. They said to put the highest and best offer in, and it was in a couple days after seeing the property. So we did notice on Zillow, when we were looking on Zillow, that a ton of people were hitting save, like going up by 50 a day. So we were like, oh, there's a lot of hot heat for there. And when we did go there was other people already looking at it. So in our minds, we said, okay, let's put in our offer.
We came in with an under asking offer, but with a contingency that we would beat any other offer by like $1,000.
We said a couple
$2,000, and then
up to a certain cap.
Up to a cap. So basically, ours was just saying, hey, we want to give it. We don't want to pay you very much for this, but if someone else wants to pay you more, we'll go up. Just a teensy bit above them to a certain extent. So basically they were just like, these people are knuckleheads, and they tossed us out. And we
still don't know why. But we realized if we really wanted it, we should not have gone under the asking price. We should have at least done the asking price.
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing at all, and we're in way over our heads. But one thing I'm learning about, it's been fun. It's been challenging. I thought like fighting and sailing and stuff was nerve-wracking, but really real estate is where the real thugs are out here wheeling and dealing. And I'm like just a little tiny baby boy out here like, I give you $100 for it, sir. Please let me have your house, please. But me and Kristen have been together forever, like before dating apps came out. So we're getting to kind of experience what a lot of people have experienced with like seeing pictures online and then getting there in person and being like, oh yeah, this isn't worth it.
So we don't know what happened with the termite house, but we did not get it, and they didn't even counter our offer.
No, I begged. I was ashamed of myself. I couldn't sleep the whole night because I called the realtor. I was like, well, will they even do a backup? And they're like, backups are a pain. I'm like, okay, well, tell them we'll pay more. We'll go even over asking. And she's like, well, we don't want to sound desperate. And I told her, I said, I want to sound desperate. I am desperate. And I even sang Everybody Plays the Fool sometimes. I said, I don't care. But yeah, it was hard and it was sad for me. And we moped around and, did I threaten my realtor? with a fist fight. I'm not going to say I did or didn't, because y'all probably saw her in the video, and you would say, wow, Matt, that was really aggressive, and she could probably take you anyway. You can't even cut grass without passing out. So it got wild, but our realtor is actually really cool. We're having a blast with her, and she's guiding us through this maze of insanity.
We're enjoying it, and we're not done yet. We're going to keep searching for houses. We are not done. We are excited. This is going to be a crazy new adventure for us. We hope you guys come along.
Out of the ones that you guys saw, which one would you say was the coolest one? Let me know, because realistically, I hate to break it to y'all. Y'all going to be watching it. So y'all going to be watching me take a sledgehammer to all these houses. Are they too beautiful? Matt, you know what? You should really try to get this one. Or Kristen, put your foot down and don't let that idiot drag you out into the jungle again.
Check out our Patreon if you want to see some other house listings. We're going to show some on there. And we're just going to continue this journey. So make sure you hit subscribe if you want to see if we actually find the house. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.